Look, I'm just going to say this up front. It is totally inappropriate to get turned on by Charlize Theron kicking somebody's ass in high heels and short skirt. Hey everybody, welcome back to Drinks and a Movie. Chris Hamker back with you. Today we'll be talking about Atomic Blonde. But first, let's start with the drink. The drink I'm doing for Atomic Blonde is Stoli on the rocks. Now, for this purpose, I'm using Tito's vodka because I'm cheap and didn't want to buy a whole new bottle of vodka for just a bit. So, we're doing Stoli on the rocks, but essentially vodka on the rocks because that's what she drinks the entire time during Atomic Blonde. So, my recipe for Stoli on the rocks is rocks glass filled with ice and pour vodka in until you're satisfied or drunk. Alright, so let's talk about Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde is directed by John Wick, one of the John Wick directors, David Leitch, and written by Kurt Johnstad, and stars Charlize Theron and James McAvoy as in a story about a hard-as-nails MI6 agent sent to Berlin right at the end of the Cold War, right before the wall fell in 1989. This movie centers on Theron's character, Lorraine, who was sent to investigate the death of a fellow MI6 agent and to recover Mission Impossible's knock list. I mean, not exactly Mission Impossible's knock list, but it's the exact same story. Oh, that's a lot of vodka. So here we go. Once again, I have to have a disclaimer at the beginning of one of my videos as to the advertising of a movie. I did this a couple weeks ago with War for the Planet of the Apes, and I'm doing it again with Atomic Blonde. The reason, and really this movie should be called Smoldering Blonde because this movie is totally a slow burn. I think it's being advertised as a John Wick style wall-to-wall action type movie, and it does have those kind of visceral, hard-nosed, really well choreographed action scenes the filmmakers, especially Theron, worked really hard on, but the problem is those scenes are way few and far between. Most of this movie is a Cold War spy kind of mystery, and there's long stretches where there's no action in it. So I just want to temper people's expectations. It's not a wall-to-wall action movie, although the action's very good. It's really not that. So let's of course start out with what I liked about this movie. Holy shit. So, what I really liked about this movie was the actors. I mean, Theron and McAvoy could really carry their own movies, but together, their chemistry, their presence is just electrifying. Charlize Theron just nails this role from top to bottom. She has their physicality and intensity down to a science. I mean, she could probably kick my ass, and I gotta admit, it probably wouldn't be that unpleasant. McAvoy is also great as well. He is charismatic, he's fun, he's funny, he's a little strange, and I just liked every time he's on screen, as usual. Sophia Boutella's in this from Star Trek and The Kingsman, and the most recent The Mummy. She is great as this kind of a little French spy that sneaks her way in there, but unfortunately she's way underused and her character doesn't really get her due, unfortunately. The fight and action sequences are really well done. I mean, if you watch John Wick, you know how good this director is at staging action sequences. You can see what's going on, and most of the time it seems like the actors are doing their own stunts, which is so much better than kind of trying to cut into a stunt double. If you can find actors that will do their own stuff and will train and really work hard, then you can create really good fight sequences, which is what this had. The fights are so much fun and so just brutal and and hardcore, they really are the highlight of this movie. The problem is, between these really well choreographed fight sequences, the pacing of the film gets way bogged down by a very overcomplicated plot line. Now, it was surprising to me that the plot line is so overly complicated, because they reuse some old storylines from these old spy movies, like trying to get the knockless, like in Mission Impossible, or who's betraying who, and all that stuff. And look, I don't mind reusing storylines as long as it's done well. The problem is, this movie is unnecessarily complicated. It's kind of clunky and a little boring at times, and even the dialogue comes off, because this movie honestly does think it's way more clever than it is, because the dialogue comes off as sort of discount Guy Ritchie or Quentin Tarantino style dialogue that just did not work at all. I was sitting there literally praying for the next action sequence to happen, because I was just not invested in the story at all. Look, all in all, it's not a terrible experience. I'm going to give this movie 3 drinks out of 5. I slightly recommend it for these amazing fight sequences and action scenes, especially the last one where they're really kicking up a notch, and it really does kick ass. It's just in between there. I feel like they could have tightened the story up and made it a little less convoluted. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Let me know what your favorite Charlize Theron movie is. I think mine might be Mad Max Fury Road, but she's got a bunch of good ones and a couple of bad ones. So let me know there. Thanks so much for joining me. If you like this, like, share, and subscribe down here at the bottom. Have a drink on me, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.